Hey everyone, it's Tony Leonardi, certified financial planner professional and author of A Smarter Way to Retire, 10 Steps Towards a Confident Financial Future. Back with another episode of A Smarter Way to Retire. Here's the question I keep hearing from clients and viewers alike. Once I stop working, how will I actually turn everything I saved into a reliable income source that will last as long as I do? Or in other words, where's my income going to come from once I retire without constantly worrying about running out of money? It's a great question, right? That's exactly what we're going to explore today in this episode titled Retirement Income Solutions. These are the strategies that are gaining real traction here in 2026. We'll talk about how to create a steady income stream, one that you cannot outlive while still keeping some money in those growth assets to help offset inflation and protect your legacy for your kids and grandkids. So let's get started. For all of us, while we're working, while we're earning, the conversation that we always hear is always about how do we save more? How do we grow more? How do we invest our assets? How do we accumulate? And how much can I save? How big can I get my 401k? What should I be investing in order to get the best return over the long term? Turn on the financial news, any one of them, and that's all you'll hear about. That's what they talk about. Stocks, what to invest in, what names to invest in, how to grow your money. They don't spend much time on how to live on that money once you retire, how to live on what you've saved. Growing your assets and investing is still very important, especially when you're younger. But when you retire, you want to know, how can I live on what I saved? And when you're within, let's say, 10 years of retirement or already there, the conversation really needs to switch. The conversation needs to change because the game changes. The real challenge becomes, how do I turn what I've saved into income that I can't outlive? How do I turn that into income that will last for 30 or even 40 years? This is where sequence of returns, RMDs, taxes, inflation, longevity all collide and create a lot of confusion and a lot of worry. I've done separate episodes on each one of those topics individually because they are all so important. You can look back at my past episodes if you missed any of them. Sequence of returns risk being one of the biggest risks that you face in retirement, and one that you never think about while you're accumulating, because there really is no sequence of returns risk while you're accumulating. But when you retire, a bad market stretch early on in retirement combined with withdrawals from your plan can permanently damage your portfolio if you're not careful. That's why smart retirement income planning is one of the highest value things that we as planners do. 2026, with interest rates fairly low and markets volatile, very volatile, but near all-time highs, people are realizing that they need more than just hope the market keeps going up. They need more than hope. They need structured, reliable income solutions that they can actually count on. So how do I know if I've even saved enough to retire? This is the question I hear more than almost any other. Most people look at their account balance and think, well, if I just keep saving and the market continues to go up, I should be fine. But that's exactly where a lot of anxiety comes from. It's not really knowing for sure if you have saved enough, if you are going to be okay. Here's the truth. You can't answer the have I saved enough question just by looking at a number on a statement. You need to run your numbers through a proper financial model, one that stress tests your plan against real life risks, market volatility, inflation, healthcare costs, how long you think you might live, and of course, taxes. A good model will give you a clear probability of success. For example, an 85% or a 95% chance that you won't run out of money during your lifetime, that your money will last as long as you do. A good model will also show you where the danger zones are. What happens if the market drops sharply in the first few years of retirement? Or what happens if healthcare costs continue to rise? I've had clients in their 50s and 60s come in thinking that they were really behind in terms of retirement planning, retirement saving, only to discover that after modeling that they actually were in better shape than they thought. They could actually retire a few years earlier than what they had originally planned. I've also had others come in to my office who thought they were in great shape, only to realize that they needed to make a few adjustments to truly feel confident. The point is, guessing is stressful. Modeling removes the guesswork and replaces it with clarity. That's why I always start every relationship with your SMART retirement model. So we can answer the question, am I going to be okay? Is my family going to be okay? We can answer with real data instead of hope. Once you know where you stand, the next question becomes, how do I turn what I've saved into reliable income? There isn't one perfect solution that works for everyone. There's no one size fits all solution. But here are a couple of approaches that are working well for many of my clients right now. And keep in mind that it's usually a combination of approaches that works best for most people. Think of retirement income planning like building a house. You need a strong foundation, steady income, and you need some rooms with growth potential. That's the rest of your portfolio. So here are the top income strategies today. Number one is called the guardrail or flexible withdrawal strategy. You start with a reasonable withdrawal rate, often around 4% or less. That's the famous 4% rule that we've talked about so many times in the past. You take that 4% withdrawal rate and you adjust it up or down each year based on how things are going in the market, how well your accounts have done, how well you've performed. This approach gives you flexibility while protecting against early drops in the market that otherwise could derail your plan. I would say this is a popular, but one of the least reliable, least scientific approaches, and it won't work for everyone. This approach works best for those who have a modest monthly nut, fixed expenses that they have to cover, or they have their fixed expenses covered by fixed income, such as Social Security and a pension. This flexible withdrawal strategy should really only be used in terms of your variable expenses, your wants and wishes, not your needs. Cutting travel in retirement is a lot easier when the market's down than cutting food or cutting electricity. So be careful with this strategy. Make sure it fits into your plan. The second approach is what we call the bucket approach. This is one of the most popular and easy to understand because it's a very visual strategy. Many of my clients like this approach because it's very easy to understand and very easy to implement. Think about your assets in 3 buckets. So we divide your money into 3 buckets. Bucket 1 is your safe bucket. This is the money that you're going to use to fund the first 3 to 5 years of your retirement. And it's going to be made up of very conservative investments, cash, or very conservative bonds, short-term bonds. This is what you're going to live on now for the next 3 to 5 years. And you're going to spend this bucket down, let's say for a 5-year period, never touching the other 2 buckets and letting them grow. The second bucket is a stable bucket. That's for your next, let's say, 5, 10, 15 years in a more moderately conservative investment bucket, maybe 50-50 stock to bond ratio if you're comfortable with that. So this will cover years 5 through 15 or even 5 through 20 of your retirement. The remainder of your assets stay in bucket 3. This is your long-term or your growth bucket. You're invested in this bucket for the long term, more invested in stocks or stock funds, again, if you're comfortable with that. So you can either spend down each bucket within its own predetermined time frame, meaning spend down bucket 1, then move on to bucket 2, or if you prefer, when bucket 1 gets low, you can refill bucket 1 with income or growth from bucket 2 and bucket 3. So you're constantly refilling bucket 1. So you'll always have 3 buckets in play. This approach helps protect against sequence of returns risk. It helps give you long-term confidence. Plus, people like the idea of seeing buckets filled with money. I call this style of planning perfect for the picture-it investor, someone who's a visual thinker, a visual learner, and wants to see exactly where their money is, how it's organized, and how it's protected. So that's the very popular bucket approach. The third approach we'll call the protected income floor. To think, I like to think of this approach as layers, like in a cake, as opposed to buckets, which we just discussed. So it's a bit of a different approach. Many clients like to build strong, protected income layers that last for the long term, as opposed to a safe bucket that's only going to last for 3 to 5 years. This strong, protected layer of income could last for the long term, even for your entire life. That's going to be your protected layer for your lifetime. And this layer can come from reliable income sources like Social Security and pension, but on top of that, bonds, annuities, or in-plan lifetime income options. Think of this as your solid foundation. You know exactly how much safe, predictable income is going to come in every month, no matter what happens in the stock market. This takes away a huge amount of worry, especially in the early years of retirement when sequence of returns risk is the highest. I like to think of this as fixed income to cover fixed expenses. That's your first layer. On top of that, variable income to cover variable expenses. Does that make sense? Some people have a natural built-in protected income floor sufficient to cover their fixed expenses with Social Security and a pension. If you don't have a pension, adding another type of reliable income source as a layer here can be very critical. So a protected income floor can come from bonds, short-term annuities, in-plan lifetime income options inside your 401k, and the rest of your portfolio stays invested for growth with less worry. A good income floor will take pressure off of your growth assets and can help you get through a bad sequence of returns in the market to help you keep a solid, confident retirement. Strategy number 4 is blending multiple sources of income. And this is what most people end up doing. Social Security, any pension if you're lucky enough to have it, bonds, a small annuity, strategic withdrawals from your portfolio in a bucket approach or a layered approach. Often how much you need in each bucket or each layer will be completely dependent on your financial model, on your level of fixed and variable expenses and your other assets. When we model this combination properly in your model, it often delivers the highest probability of success and the most confidence in retirement. I often recommend a customized, modeled approach, blending several different strategies depending on your unique circumstances. Doing what your neighbor does or winging it are not recommended strategies. And remember, when planning for retirement income, don't forget about withdrawal order. We talked about this in last week's episode, the 401k tax trap or the tax torpedo. The order in which you pull money from your taxable, tax-deferred, and tax-free accounts can have a massive impact on your taxes and how long your money lasts. So you have to blend your income strategy, your income approach with your distribution order. A good model helps you optimize that order and blend it with your income approach. There is no one-size-fits-all answer when it comes to retirement income planning. And finally, don't forget about the health-wealth connection. Reliable monthly income reduces financial stress, which makes it easier to stay active, healthy, and engaged longer. Exactly what we talked about when we interviewed Lori on hearing health and Philip on exercise in retirement. When you're not worried about money every month, you can actually take better care of yourself and enjoy your retirement. What's the point in being wealthy if you're not healthy enough to enjoy it? I believe they go hand in hand. The key that ties all of this together is a good financial model. It lets you test different income solutions side by side to see exactly how they affect your probability of success, your taxes, and what you'll be able to leave behind. I recently worked with a couple in their mid-60s who had about $1.1 million saved. Their initial plan showed only a 68% chance of success if we had a bad market early on in their retirement. We modeled adding a modest income floor using a simple annuity and some bond laddering. Those changes boosted their probability of success to 94%, gave them steady monthly income to help cover their fixed expenses, money they could count on, and still left room for growth in the rest of their portfolio. They told me it was the first time that they truly felt confident about retiring on their timeline. So here's what you can do right now to start building your own retirement income solution. Run your own retirement income solutions in a solid financial model. Consider building a protected income floor or a bucket approach. Review your Social Security and pension timing. And look at whether adding a small annuity or guardrail strategy makes sense for your situation. Retirement income solutions are not about taking more risk. They're about creating reliability so that you can enjoy retirement instead of worrying about running out of money. If you'd like help building or reviewing your own retirement income plan, I'm offering to create your smart retirement model. It's for you at no cost or no obligation, as time slots are open on my calendar. You'll see your probability of success, how different income strategies could work for you, and where small changes could make a big difference. Also, grab a free comprehensive guide, Roth Conversion Playbook 2026 edition, great companion piece for tax-efficient retirement income planning. You can find it on my website, leonardifamilywealthcare.com. Roth IRA Conversion Playbook. What retirement income questions do you have? Drop them in the comments. I read and respond to everyone. And make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss next week's episode. Thanks for joining today, and remember, there is a smarter way to retire.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Mosaic Wealth, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Mosaic Wealth is separately owned, and other entities and their marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Mosaic Wealth. The opinions expressed herein are for general information only and is not necessarily the opinions of Mosaic Wealth or its representatives. Investing is subject to risk, including loss of principal invested. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. No strategy can assure a profit nor protect against loss. It is not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. Please consult your financial professional, attorney, or tax advisor with regard to your individual situation.